I saw a nude video of my girlfriend, and she lied to me about it. I later found out that she had been friends with benefits with my colleague since before we met. I, 28 male, have been dating Simone, 26 female, for about a year now. We met through my colleague Nathan, 29 male, at a company party. I wasn't looking to meet anyone new at the time. My last relationship had ended badly, and I was focused on my career. But Nathan was persistent, saying he had the perfect girl for me. Nathan and I have worked together for 3 years. We're not close friends, but we get along well at the office. He's always been a bit of a social butterfly, knowing everyone in their business. When he first mentioned setting me up with Simone, I brushed it off. But he kept bringing her up, telling me how we had so much in common. Finally, I agreed to meet her at our company's annual summer barbecue. I remember being nervous that day. I almost called Nathan to cancel, but something made me go through with it. When I arrived, Nathan waved me over to where he was standing with a group of people. That's when I first saw Simone. She was beautiful, with long dark hair and warm brown eyes. But it wasn't just her looks that caught my attention. It was the way she carried herself, confident but not arrogant. When Nathan introduced us, she smiled, and I felt my nervousness melt away. We hit it off immediately. We talked for hours that day, barely noticing as the barbecue wound down around us. Simone was smart and funny, and we discovered we had a lot in common. We both loved hiking and photography, and we shared a passion for trying new cuisines. Our first date was a hike in a nearby state park. I was worried it might be too much for a first date, but Simone was enthusiastic. We spent the day exploring trails, taking photos, and talking. By the end of the day, I knew I wanted to see her again. Over the next few months, our relationship grew. We went on more hikes, tried new restaurants, and spent quiet evenings watching movies. Simone introduced me to her love of art, dragging me to galleries and museums. In return, I shared my passion for cooking, teaching her some of my favorite recipes. I learned that Simone worked as a graphic designer for a small advertising firm. She loved her job but dreamed of starting her own design studio someday. I admired her ambition and drive. As we got closer, Simone opened up about her past. She told me about her childhood in a small town, her dreams of moving to the city, and her college years where she studied art and design. She mentioned that she and Nathan had been friends since college, which explained how they knew each other. Our relationship wasn't always perfect. We had our share of arguments and misunderstandings. Simone could be moody sometimes, canceling plans at the last minute or becoming distant for no apparent reason. But we always worked through it, and I chalked it up to the stress of her job. As our one-year anniversary approached, I started thinking about our future. We had talked about moving in together, and I was seriously considering proposing. Simone was everything I had ever wanted in a partner, kind, supportive, and loving. But yesterday, something happened that's turned my world upside down. I was at Simone's apartment. She shares it with 2 other girls, but they were out for the day, so we had the place to ourselves. Simone was showing me some recent pictures on her phone. She's really into photography and often shares her work with me. While we were looking through her gallery, Simone got a call from her mom. She excused herself and went to the kitchen to take the call, leaving her phone with me. She was also in the middle of making us lunch, so I figured she'd be a while. As I was scrolling through the photos, I accidentally deleted one. Not wanting to upset Simone, I went to the recycle bin to restore it. That's when I saw something that made my blood run cold. There was a recently deleted video with a thumbnail of Simone naked. I know I shouldn't have, but curiosity got the better of me. I quickly restored the video and played it. It was short, only about 10 seconds long. In it, Simone was completely naked in what looked like a bedroom. Someone else was holding the camera. Simone laughed and reached for the phone, and then the video ended. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The video was from just 3 days ago, and I definitely hadn't taken it. The laugh I heard in the background was definitely male, and it sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it. I heard Simone coming back from the kitchen, and I didn't have time to hide what I'd seen. To be honest, I didn't want to. I needed answers. When Simone walked in, I asked her about the video. The color drained from her face. She tried to come up with excuses, saying it was her friend Natalie, 27 female, who had taken the video as a joke. But I knew that wasn't true. The laugh was clearly male. I got angry. I felt betrayed and hurt. Without waiting for more explanations, I left her apartment. I couldn't bear to be there any longer. It's been a day now, and I'm still in shock. I don't know what to think or do. Simone has been calling and texting nonstop, but I haven't responded. I feel like my whole world has been turned upside down. I keep replaying moments from our relationship in my head, wondering if there were signs I missed. Was she really working late all those nights? Were those weekends away with her girlfriends real? I feel like I'm going crazy, questioning everything. I've barely slept. Every time I close my eyes, I see that video. I hear that laugh. I rack my brain trying to place it, but I can't. Or maybe I don't want to. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to hear Simone out, to believe that there's some explanation that will make this all okay. But another part of me is terrified of what I might learn if I let her explain. I've thought about calling Nathan. He introduced us after all. Maybe he knows something. But then I worry that I'm being paranoid, seeing conspiracies where there are none. I've always prided myself on being a rational person. I make decisions based on facts, not emotions. But right now I'm all emotion. I'm hurt, angry, confused, and scared. I don't know if I can trust Simone anymore. The thought of her being with someone else makes me physically ill. But the thought of losing her hurts just as much. I keep thinking about our plans, our future. We were supposed to go on a camping trip next month. We had talked about getting a dog together. Now all of that seems like a distant dream. I don't know what to do next. Do I confront Simone? Do I try to investigate on my own? Do I just walk away from this relationship? Each option seems impossible in its own way. I'm lost and don't know what to do. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How did you handle it? Any advice would be appreciated. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since I discovered that video on Simone's phone. These have been the hardest 2 weeks of my life. I haven't been talking to Simone, despite her constant attempts to contact me. She's been calling, texting, and even showed up at my workplace once. Each time she tries to explain that she hasn't been cheating on me, and that I've misunderstood the situation. I've been a mess. I can't focus at work, I'm not sleeping well, and I've lost my appetite. My colleagues have noticed something's wrong, but I've brushed off their concerns. I don't want to discuss my personal life at work, especially since Nathan might overhear. Speaking of Nathan, he's been acting strange lately. He keeps trying to talk to me, asking if everything's okay. I've been avoiding him as much as possible. I can't shake the feeling that he knows something, but I'm afraid to ask. My friends have been worried about me too. I haven't told them what's going on. I feel embarrassed and don't want to admit that I might have been cheated on. Plus, some of them are friends with Simone too, and I don't want to put them in an awkward position. Yesterday, something unexpected happened. Simone's friend Natalie called me. I almost didn't answer, thinking it might be Simone using her friend's phone to get me to pick up. But I decided to take the call. Natalie told me that Simone was telling the truth and that I had misunderstood the situation. She explained that the video was indeed a joke between friends and that there was nothing sexual about it. She said that the male laugh I heard was from her boyfriend who was in the room at the time. I found it hard to believe at first. The whole thing seemed too convenient. But Natalie sounded sincere, and she's always been a straight shooter. After talking to her for a while, I reluctantly started to believe that maybe I had jumped to conclusions. I agreed to talk to Simone. We met at a neutral place, a coffee shop we used to frequent. Simone looked terrible, like she hadn't been sleeping either. She repeated what Natalie had told me, adding more details about the night the video was taken. She apologized for not being upfront about it when I first asked her, saying she was caught off guard and panicked. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But there was still a nagging doubt in the back of my mind. Something didn't feel right, but I couldn't put my finger on what it was. We agreed to try and work things out. Simone promised to be more open with me and I promised to try and trust her again. But it's been hard. I find myself constantly watching her, looking for signs that she might be lying or hiding something. Weeks passed, and things seemed to be getting back to normal. We started going on dates again, trying to recapture the ease and joy we had before. But there was always a tension underlying everything. I couldn't fully relax around Simone anymore. I also couldn't shake my suspicions about Nathan. He kept trying to talk to me at work, asking how things were going with Simone. His interest seemed odd, almost too intense. I started wondering if there was more to his relationship with Simone than I knew. Then, about a week ago, I got another call from Natalie. This time her voice was shaky and she sounded upset. Natalie told me she couldn't live with the guilt anymore. She admitted that she had lied to me before, and that Simone had begged her to back up her story. Then she dropped a bombshell. She told me that if I wanted to know the truth, I should keep an eye on Nathan's house on certain evenings. I was stunned. Nathan? My colleague who had introduced me to Simone? It couldn't be. But Natalie's words planted a seed of doubt that I couldn't ignore. For the next few days I found myself parked near Nathan's house on the evenings Natalie had mentioned. I felt ridiculous, like a character in a bad detective novel. Nothing happened for the first couple of days, and I started to feel foolish for even doing this. But then, on the third night, I saw Simone's car pull up. My heart sank as I watched her get out of her car and enter Nathan's house. I waited for what felt like hours, my mind racing with possibilities. Maybe they were just friends catching up. Maybe there was an innocent explanation for all of this. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I walked up to Nathan's door and knocked. There was a long pause before Nathan answered. When he opened the door, I pushed past him and entered the house. I heard Simone's voice calling from upstairs, asking who was at the door. I ran up the stairs, my heart pounding. And there, in Nathan's bedroom, I found Simone. She was naked, hastily trying to cover herself with a sheet. The look of shock and guilt on her face told me everything I needed to know. I didn't say a word. I just turned and walked out. Simone called after me, begging me to let her explain, but I was done listening to explanations. I got in my car and drove away, ending our relationship then and there. Now, I'm left picking up the pieces of my life. I feel betrayed not just by Simone, but by Nathan too. Someone I considered a friend and colleague had been sleeping with my girlfriend behind my back. The pain and anger I feel are overwhelming. I don't know how I'm going to face Nathan at work. I don't know how I'm going to trust anyone again. Right now I'm just trying to get through each day one at a time. Update 2. It's been 2 months since I caught Simone cheating on me with Nathan. These have been some of the toughest months of my life, but I'm slowly starting to heal. The first few weeks after the incident were a blur. I called in sick to work for a week, unable to face the thought of seeing Nathan. When I finally did return, I requested a transfer to a different department. My boss was understanding, though I didn't give him the full details. I just said there had been a personal conflict with a colleague. Simone tried to contact me numerous times in those first few weeks. She left voicemails, sent texts, and even emailed me. I couldn't bring myself to read or listen to any of them. Eventually I blocked her number and email address. It was too painful to keep seeing her name pop up on my phone. Nathan, for his part, seemed to be avoiding me as much as I was avoiding him. I heard through the office grapevine that he had taken some time off. Part of me was relieved, but another part was angry that he got to run away from the situation he had helped create. About 3 weeks after the incident, I ran into Natalie at a local grocery store. I almost turned and walked the other way when I saw her, but she caught my eye before I could leave. She looked awful, with dark circles under her eyes and a haunted expression. Natalie begged me to let her explain everything. At first I refused, but something in her desperate tone made me reconsider. We went to a nearby coffee shop, and that's where she told me the whole story. According to Natalie, Simone and Nathan had been friends with benefits for a long time, even before I came into the picture. Their arrangement had been going on since college, and they had never really ended it. When Simone saw me at work one day, she was attracted to me and asked Nathan to introduce us. At first Simone had seen me as just another potential conquest. She thought it would be fun to date me while still maintaining her relationship with Nathan. But things didn't go according to her plan. As we spent more time together, Simone genuinely fell in love with me. The problem was, she couldn't bring herself to end things with Nathan either. So she tried to have both a loving relationship with me and a physical relationship with Nathan. She thought she could keep both worlds separate, but obviously, it all came crashing down. Natalie had known about the arrangement from the beginning. She and Simone had been friends since college, and Simone had confided in her. Natalie said she had felt uncomfortable with the situation from the start, but hadn't felt it was her place to interfere. When I discovered the video and confronted Simone, she had panicked and begged Natalie to back up her lie. Natalie had agreed, feeling trapped between loyalty to her friend and her own moral compass. But as time went on, she couldn't live with the guilt anymore. Learning all of this was like reopening a wound that had just started to heal. I felt used, manipulated, and foolish. How could I have been so blind? How could I have not seen what was happening right under my nose? But as painful as this revelation was, it also provided a strange sort of closure. Now I knew the full truth and I could start to move on. In the weeks since that conversation with Natalie, I've been focused on healing. I've cut all ties with both Simone and Nathan. I've thrown myself into my work and my hobbies. I've started hiking again, something I had stopped doing because it reminded me too much of Simone. I've also been spending more time with my friends, the ones who knew nothing about Simone and Nathan. Their company has been a welcome distraction, a reminder that there's more to my life than this betrayal. There are still hard days. Days when I miss Simone so much it physically hurts. Days when I'm angry at Nathan for betraying our friendship. Days when I'm furious at myself for not seeing the signs. But there are also good days. Days when I feel strong and independent. Days when I can look to the future with hope instead of dread. I'm not ready to date again, and I don't know when I will be. The thought of putting my trust in someone else is terrifying. But I'm trying to stay open to the possibility that someday I might be ready to try again. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time. I'm learning to trust myself again, to believe in my own judgment. I'm rediscovering who I am outside of a relationship. It's not easy, but I'm getting there.